Hi,
Hi.
thanks for having us. Would you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Andrew Morrison, and I'm the Managing Director at the Clydeside Distillery.
Yeah, thank you for having us here today. You just opened for us 1.5 hours before the normal visiting times. Thank you very much. Can you tell us a little bit about Clydeside Distillery? What is it all about, and where does the name come from? And yeah,
Sure. So, roughly 10 years ago, our sister company, AD Rattray, independent bottling company, we were realizing that whilst the business was growing, it was getting harder and harder to source good casks, and we were starting to worry about the continuation plan for the business. And so we started actively looking at distilleries, not distilleries, but creating our own distillery. And obviously our family, 4 generations in the whiskey business. My dad and my uncle heavily involved with Morrison Bowmore, Auchintosh and Glengarry. And so we felt that we were in a position to look at this seriously. And so we looked quite a few different areas in Scotland, came close to doing distilleries in different areas. It didn't quite come together. And basically through frustration, we thought, if we're going to do this, let's really do something different. And so, our family's from Glasgow. We have a very strong connection with Glasgow historically. And we started looking in Glasgow, and we managed to find this site, which is
beautiful spot.
Thank you. It's right on the River Clyde, and a historic building, 1877 was the original pump house building. And it was quite an interesting story because one of the deals of where we were having troubles in other areas of Scotland is we wanted to own the land. And a lot of them were leaseholds or rentals, and we didn't feel that gave us the control long term. And so when we looked at this site initially, the landowners only wanted to do a lease deal, but we managed to show them the plans, and when we executed on what we wanted to do, they gave us freehold of the land. So that to have that in this location is probably something we wouldn't be able to do now with the development around Glasgow. So we're very excited to be in this spot.
Okay, so Clydeside is part of the company or of your family, which is an independent bottler. Do you plan to do independent bottling of Clydeside Distillery, or is it just the single malt in the Clydeside brand for now?
I think AD Rattray would love to have some of our casks, but I think for Clydeside, we're taking quite a long-term view on where we want to go. And so we are really holding our stock quite closely, and we're not selling into any independents. Yeah.
Makes sense, because you have to build up your stock for the first decade maybe to...
Absolutely. And when we started, our production levels were pretty small, maybe just over 200,000 litres. And then, we ramped up second year, third year. And this year we're just under 500,000 litres. So we've, in a short period of time, we've seen
more than double.
Yeah. So
nice.
It's been really encouraging to see that.
Do you sell casks to private persons, or do you keep everything in stock for yourself?
We do have a thing called the Ballast Club. It's not by invitation only, but traditionally it's through contacts that we know that kind of approach us, and we keep it very limited. It's only basically 30 casks a year we allocate.
Okay.
And we have very strict terms and conditions as far as, so people won't be flipping casks.
Okay.
We're in control of the label approvals.
Yes.
And so it's definitely, I say to people very clearly, if you're looking for an investment, this probably isn't the avenue. But if you're looking to have something really nice for your family, maybe in 10, 15, 20 years, something to share, because people come to the distillery, they fill their own casks, they have certificates, they get samples every 3, 6, 9 years. So it's a nice thing for people to do that are interested in that. But if people are just looking as an investment, it's
family is very important to you.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
The inaugural release, the Stop Cross, was not that hype bottle like we know it from Razai maybe, or lately Loch Lee. Is it a huge number of bottles you released, and why did you do that? So
there's a couple of reasons. One is we didn't release a big number of bottles. I think there's two things that happened. One is due to the problems we've had through COVID, and containers were a big issue for us. Okay. So we wanted to do a release to all markets at once, but because we couldn't get containers, so certain markets were getting their allocations at different times. So product might be in Japan, it's not in America. It might be in China, but it's not in other countries. So it's been a very fragmented release. The product that has arrived in international markets has sold very quickly. A big thing for me in the UK is I believe that people that visit our distillery should be able to buy a bottle of Stallcross.
Okay.
And so what you'll find in the UK market, still it's a small release, but we have not sold to retailers really. There's maybe one in Glasgow, and maybe one other. And that's not to say we don't want to do that, we would like to do that, but with tourism hopefully picking up on the recovery from COVID, it was a decision of mine that I felt that people that came here should be able to buy a bottle.
Yes.
So our UK allocation is basically here.
Good for the people living in Glasgow.
Good for the people living in Glasgow, good for people that are making the effort to come and visit us. And people can buy it online, so it's available, but it's a big thing for me is I didn't want people turning up here, doing a tour and not being able to buy a bottle of our product. And so, and I also am taking a very long-term view on this, is we could have done a production, we could have sold it all out, but I deliberately didn't number the bottles. I deliberately didn't say, batch 1, batch 2,
yes.
Because I don't want it showing up on auction sites. I don't, and I didn't want to go down that route.
I think for the people who drink whiskey, it's better because they can enjoy the whiskey and they don't have to look, can I get a bottle? Yeah. Where can I get a bottle? Have I go to the secondary market? No, they can go here, they can get the bottle, and that's how it should be.
And that's the thing. I mean, it like I said, this is always a long-term play for us. It's very tempting, given the last 3 years, to put stuff out there, limited edition, pump the price out, and really generate some hype around it. But the Stallcross is going to be an evolution. So while some markets, because we did a relatively short run, so some markets, we've had reports from different countries that they sold out in 2 weeks. When's the next one coming? So it's always going to be available to these markets. We haven't done batch 1, batch 2, but the product is evolving. So the next one will be slightly older. The one after that will be older again. So Stallcross is going to be an evolution. Okay. Till we get to a point, it might be 7 years, 6, 7, 8, who knows? We don't know, but each release is going to be slightly older moving forward.
So if you're interested in that, you have to look up the bottle codes probably.
If you really, or good retailers will be able to explain that and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it was something we went back and forth on batch 1, batch 2, but I think you're always chasing hype again then. And like I said, we big thing we're doing here is a long-term strategy. So.
Most of the time it's the better strategy.
I hope so, yeah.
What can we expect during the next few years of bottling? You see the COP26 in the back.
So that one was interesting. That was a short run, and that was really just because COP happened literally next door to us, and we were actually used for COP. So that was something that came about at very short notice. Sorry.
Quick interruption. Can you quickly explain what the COP was for the people in Germany?
Yeah, sorry. The Climate Change Conference. Oh, okay. The Climate Change Conference, which was held in the SEC, which is the exhibition centre behind us, and the Commonwealth Office. We were actually part of the event, and we held events, so it felt fitting to do a release for that event. Yeah.
We already heard Alistair MacDonald telling us a little bit about the bottling and the ingredients, but we'll keep up to this next time.
Yeah.
So what releases will you have in the future? Not that you spoil too much, but...
So it's the reason I'm smiling is because given this journey we've been on, it's now quite exciting for myself and Alistair to sit in this room and taste different things and actually be able to think, oh, that's going to be good in a couple of years. That's going to be good. Maybe that's not quite ready. So obviously, I think the next thing is we've been investing quite heavily in some really good sherry casks. So I would imagine the next release will be a sherry. It was tempting to release one now, but we don't think it's quite there. I'm sure Alistair will taste you on some later, but I think that might be maybe in a couple of years or something like that. Again, it's very tempting for me to say stop cross, sherry, cask. We could do all of this now, but I really want to take the long-term view and not rush things and flood things into the market. So I would, without putting a timeline on it, I guess 100% sherry maturation will be the next release.
Nice.
Maybe late next year, early the following year.
So can you tell us if there will be some single cask bottlings to keep Clydeside in mind until the next
I think
standard bottling?
I think that, and that's one where, you know, out with our control, things will probably get a little crazy as far as allocations and just because of the nature of the single cask. But I think speaking to, you know, yourself, lots of people, and there's a high demand for a single cask release. So I think that will be something that happens in the short to medium future.
Yeah, we are looking for that.
Yeah.
So, the Clydeside Distillery. Can you tell us about the distilling process, or should we wait for that, for Alistair to show us around?
I think you guys are going to get a great time with Alistair. He's far more knowledgeable, and he'll go into much better depth for you on that stuff. I think it's important for me to, when Alistair joined us from Auchentoshan, we had a chat, and I said, look, being a city-centre distillery, obviously tourism is a big part of what we want to achieve. And at the end of 2019, we had over 70,000 visitors, which was great, you know, in our second year. So it shows you the potential of this site. But I said, again, long term, tourism's nice, tourism's great. We'd love to have people visiting, but ultimately our reputation lies in the whiskey. And, you know, we could be the busiest tourism destination, but if the whiskey isn't good, no one's going to care.
Speaking of that, how much have you been involved into the process itself, maturing whiskey?
So, making whiskey. I'm a big believer in letting people who have their expertise in areas get on with that. Okay. Distilling is not my area of expertise. All I said to Alistair is, we will support you financially with whatever you need to produce the best. In your opinion, how do you produce the best you make spirit? So he told me, you know, long fermentation times, clear wort, slow running of the stills. Now, obviously, that impacts our output. You know, we could increase our production if we had shorter fermentation, all these kind of things. So I said, fine, if those are the key things that you need to do, we'll support that business model. So that was really my only input, but I think it's quite an important input to let him know that the business will support him in whatever he believes is necessary to produce the best possible spirit.
Makes the job easier for him.
Yeah, I think so. And this is one of the advantages of being a small independent is we don't have targets to meet. We don't have, you know, massive strain on our stocks at the moment. And so it's nice. And I think this was a big part of what brought him here, was having the ability to put his own fingerprint on the spirit.
To be creative.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you don't storage the whiskey here? You have warehouses somewhere else?
We do.
Tell us about
I can't tell you specifically. It's on the west coast of Scotland. It's all the west coast of Scotland.
It's on the coast, really? So
close.
Close, okay. So it has an impact by the sea.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know how much impact the sea will have, but geographically it is near the coast. Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about the design of the bottling? What was the idea behind that?
Yeah, so as you'll see when you come through the distillery, Glasgow has a very, very strong shipping heritage. You know, you'll see as you look around, it's something of great pride to Glaswegian. Glaswegian's the heritage of the Clyde. And so we really wanted to tap into that. And even with the design of the distillery, we have the old building, which is 1877, sandstone building, listed building, and then very contemporary distillery, lots of glass, zinc cladding.
Beautiful, by the way.
Very, very clean and industrial. And so that's what the design is. You see the color splits on the bottles. That's from the water lines on ships.
Okay.
And the typeface is actually based around the old warehousing that used to be around here, the roof line of the warehousing. And the name itself, Stobcross, is the street that this distillery is built on. And the future non-age statement will be in keeping with the shipping heritage of Glasgow.
Nice. Okay, I think I have asked all my questions I have in mind.
Good.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
It was a pleasure to meet you, and I'm enjoying the tour now. We can. Yeah. I would love to see to show you the view, but it's snowing hardly, so you probably won't see anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you.